What's good, YouTube? It's me, boys, Cody, back again with another video. um, so yeah, I want to take a look at some of the Dark World combos. My boy Angry Arab sent me this replay. He's a master with the deck. If you guys haven't checked out my previous video for the deck profile that I put out for the Dark World deck, definitely check that out. But he's made like crazy adjustments on his deck recipe, which I think is actually a lot better. And today we're going to take a look at the combos that he put together. So yeah, we're just like winning the die roll. Go ahead and discard Yenta for the effect there, just to add gates. Can activate gates, banish for cost. For Genta, discard Snow, draw a card, and then upon the resolution, we can get 2 triggers of Snow and Genta, special summon itself back. Kind of nice interaction that you can just dodge Ash there as well. I know it's not a popular card in the format, but you know, if it ever was seeing play again, they can't Ash the Snow. Gonna go ahead and add Dark World Ascension, which is essentially an extender in this deck that allows you to fuse and put up a basically pseudo Omni Negate. I'm gonna activate another copy of Gates here. Bear in mind, Gates is not once per turn. A lot of these older Dark World cards are not once per turn, and that also goes for some of the new ones like Rainbow. In fact, I think the only ones that are once per turn is the special summon effect of Genta. Actually, the discard is not even once per turn, so you can actually discard for multiple copies of Gates, which is kind of neat to cycle through your deck. Okay, let's see. Gonna discard Rainbow over King of Dark World. Gonna draw a card. Over King's gonna trigger in the graveyard, allowing us to add a level 5 or a higher Dark World monster when he's discarded by your own card effect. Gonna add Grapha, which is one of the primary targets, obviously turning on the Ascension as well, being able to fuse into the big King Grapha fusion monster. He's going to go ahead and use the other effect of Genta to add the 3rd copy of Gates, like we just mentioned. It's not once per turn for the add effect. So he's going to banish to just cycle some more. Might as well put Grapha into the graveyard so we can bounce. Get that double bounce interaction. Again, you are able to bounce first for Rainbow and then bounce for Grapha because Rainbow cannot bounce level 7 or higher. It has to be level 7 or lower. But Grapha can bounce any monster, so you can bounce level 7 or lower with Rainbow, and then bounce Rainbow for Grapha. So gonna go ahead and activate Dark World Ascension, or Accession rather. Gonna fuse into the Big Daddy Grapha, who can basically be a pseudo Omni Negate, given that it changes the card effect of a normal spell or trap card or a monster effect to the effect your opponent discards 1 card instead. So kind of neat, obviously giving you the play. It turns on all your secondary Dark World effects as well, which is a lot of what these cards do when your opponent's card effect discards it. And this Grapha Dragon Overloader Dark World happens to change your opponent's card effect to your opponent discards a card. So when that resolves, that means that you would discard a card by the effect of your opponent. Okay, so off Rainbow, we're going to add Silva, and then we're going to activate the effect of Dark World Accession, discarding the Ceruli to add it back to hand. It's nice that it does have 2 effects. The Graveyard effect, remember, you can discard a card right immediately after you activate it to add that back to your hand, then turn on the Ceruli. Cerulea's effect is going to trigger, allowing us to discard the Silva, so Silva's going to resurrect itself with its own effect. But remember that Ceruli does activate on our opponent's side of the field because it is special summon there. So we get the secondary effect of Silva, which allows us to force our opponent to put exactly 2 cards from their hand on the bottom of their deck. Their choice, of course, but it doesn't really matter because, again, it's a +2 for us, so hey, that's always good. And again, Silva's not once per turn, so you are able to use that and loop essentially up to 4 cards in your opponent's hand. It does have to be 2 at once, so yeah, and I think the opponent actually just put 1 on the top, so now I just put it on bottom. Okay, we fixed that. It does have to be exactly 2, so if they do have 1, you cannot activate the effect, or resolve it rather. Gonna bounce back for Rainbow. So we're getting some Rainbow and Grapha loops here. As you can see, having both of them in the graveyard at any given moment allows you to just cycle them back to your hand. But we're just gonna go ahead and try to get a level 8 body on board. So normal summon the Genta as our normal summon. This deck, obviously, normal summoning doesn't really normal summon as much as you would think, outside of something like Tour Guide. And oh, this is a neat little play. We're going to make a Kashtira Magician. So this is kind of neat. You have to watch where your monsters actually point to. So Oh, we see a Druid Rhythm's activation. But again, Cerulean being in that extra monster zone as well as the Rainbow being summoned there as well allows us to add both of them back to the owner's hand. So that's actually a really clutch power play here. Being able to add Cerulean and Rainbow and then recycle their effects again because they're not once per turn. I'm not sure why the Druid's Worm would bounce a Grapha there, given that we have a second copy of Grapha already. I feel like this could have maybe been used earlier, but on the Silva, for example, which would have just prevented like the hand loop entirely because most decks only play one. So yeah, that's a little late activation, but I'm just gonna go ahead and Bigfoot burning the Cerule. And not that it really mattered, but hey, you know, it's always good to hit the one that you want the most. So why not? Cerulean's effects can activate a special summon itself effect for Silva to come back. Silva's effect is actually going to shuffle back the remaining 2 cards in his opponent's hand. It's kind of sad that the Druid Worm is just chilling there. So yeah, that's just gonna be the game. So let's see the next game. Or I don't know if I skip. Actually, I think I might have to wait. There we go. Okay, so opponent starting here. Yeah, we see a decent Dark World hand. Opponent's playing, I guess, a Kashtira deck. Oh, that's kind of interesting. Oh wow, okay. Instant contact. This allows you to pay 1,000 life points, special summon 1 level 7 or lower elemental hero or neospatial monster from your extra deck, ignoring the summon conditions. And then it has another effect. While elemental hero Neos is not in the field or graveyard, the summoned monster cannot attack. Its effects are negated. Okay, so this is just like a basically a way to get a level 7 body on board off a spell card by paying 1,000. So it's just an extender by paying 1k life points. Hard ones per turn. Kind of nice, actually. You just summon hero Neo's Knight, so it's a level 7 vanilla. Obviously, we're going to make some kind of overlay here with the Kashtira Ogre, which I believe has added the trap, if not mistaken. Water Enchantress is going to go ahead and search the adventure, which does mesh kind of well in the Kashtira deck. It's kind of interesting. And Kashtira Birth obviously allowing you to normal summon the level 7 or higher Kashtiras or the level 7 rather Kashtiras without tributing. And then you can also have a pseudo monster reborn effect from your banish pile or your graveyard during your main phase as well. Gonna activate Fateful Adventure, place a token, probably gonna see an activation here. Oh, okay, they just hard drew the Griffin Rider. Okay, just gonna add the equip spell. And I'm not really sure what the end board is going to be here. It's kind of interesting that Griffin Rider being level 7 does energize with the rest of the Kashtiras, allowing you to play, so that's kind of funny. Just going to go ahead. Oh, okay. I actually didn't know that this is generic, but I guess it is. 2 level 7 monsters make Kashtira Shangri-La an effect. During the standby phase, you can special summon a Kashtira monster from your deck. Okay. So I think we're just going to go ahead and get the Fenrir. Yeah, that makes sense. And then each time a card your opponent owns or possesses is banished face down, you can activate this effect. Target 1 monster or spell in trap zone that's unused. It cannot be used as long as this monster is face up on the field. Okay, gonna go ahead and activate Dark World Archives. This is a continuous spell. During your main phase, you can discard a Dark World monster. Essentially, just free discard outlet. Dark World monsters you control currently gain 100 attack times the level of the discard monster. Okay, so kind of irrelevant. And then the other effect is if an original monster whose type is Fiend is discarded from your hand by the effect of a Dark World card or by an opponent's card effect, you can discard 1 card, then draw 2 cards. So that includes its own effect, which is very neat. So we are able to go ahead and activate Genta to add gates, and then we are able to use the effect of Dark World Archives to actually discard a card and then draw 2. So that's very neat that you don't really have to use this card Archives to discard the initial target unless, of course, you don't have anything else. You could use a Danger or even Genta's own effect to discard, and then you can trigger the effect of Dark World Archives. And it's actually very interesting. Discard by the effect of a... Actually, I'm not even sure if that's technically legal activation because it's a cost, right? So it has to be discarded by a card effect, so that might actually be legal. Because it says, if a monster whose original type is Fiend is discarded from your hand by the effect of the Dark World card. So yeah, that's probably a cost. So I think that's illegal activation of Archives, but I don't think it really matters because Gates would have just allowed them to do the same thing, but obviously be able to draw the card before drawing the 2 cards. So if you discard... Oh, actually, that might have changed everything because you do have to discard first in order to draw a card, but you could just discard the Akros because it doesn't have to be a Dark World card. You can just discard any cards. So it just changes it slightly, but I don't think enough that it does actually matter. And the opponent's deck doesn't, he's not really sitting on anything. He's just got like a Fenrir is the only source of disruptions. So I don't really think that it would matter. Okay, we're gonna do some fast forward some plays here. Obviously, banish Genta, discard Rainbow, draw cards, special summon back Genta, as well as add a copy of Grapha off the effect of Rainbow over King of Dark World. And these guys not being once per turn is really, really crazy. Now that I think about it, that I'm surprised they would ever create cards that still not want hard once per turn in the year 2022. Obviously, it's intentional because Dark World is a pretty underpowered deck relative to whatever else is out there with like Tyrants and whatnot. This is like, guys, this is like an over 10 years old deck. Okay, like more than 10 years. If you think about the original Dark World cards that came out in Elemental Energy, like Silver and Gold, that was just so far away. So they obviously had to do some erasing of the you can only use once per turn effects in order to make these guys a little more viable in today's day and age, which I guess we can really appreciate for now. Salamander Catalyzer is going to discard Grapha, special summon itself as a level 4 body. This card allows you to reveal itself and a fiend monster hand, special summon one of them, and then discard the other, which is really nice. It also comes back to your hand when a monster is destroyed by battle involving your fiend monster while it's in the graveyard. So it's a very, very good recursive engine card when it comes to grind games, being able to add back a discard outlet as well as a level 4 body. You can use our no summon Doomdog Akroth. Obviously, when this card is in the graveyard, you add one level 8 fiend type monster from your deck to your hand, which can essentially be either Rainbow or another copy of Grapha. And this again is level 3 fiend, so it can be summoned off of Tour Guide from the Underworld, which is our primary target. It's essentially Sangan on crack because it doesn't have the Sangan errata. Okay, we're gonna overlay for a level 4 using Genta and Salamander Catalyzer for Daenerys. Daenerys' effect, you can detach 2 materials, draw 2 cards, skip your next draw phase, and then discard a card. Obviously, the discard is a card effect, so it does trigger the effects of the Dark Worlds that you discard. So it's kind of neat in-engine way to allow you to do stuff. Gonna use Daenerys and Akros to overlay into our favorite Muckrackers from the Underworld to affect monsters. It's a generic link too. I'm going to add a card and then activate the effect of Gates of Dark World after we added the Rainbow off the Akroth. You can banish Daenerys because Daenerys is a fiend, which is really, really nice for this deck as well because you can lock yourself into fiends with Muckracker at times. Okay, we're going to draw a card by discarding Snow. Going to activate the effect of Snow. Opponent's going to activate the effect of Kashtira Birth. It has a trigger effect. If your opponent activates a spell card or effect and you control Kashtira monster, you can target 3 cards in your opponent's graveyard, banish them. Face down. Oh, that's actually really, really relevant again in this deck. Because I guess on the successful resolution of Gates of Dark World, either whether it be the activation or the effect, up to the person that controls the Kashtira Birth, they are able to banish whatever's in the graveyard 3 copies face down. So that can be just Grapha and Rainbow. So that's actually kind of painful against this deck, given that it does have that built-in effect. So Kashtira Birth is actually a really nice card. It has like 3 effects in one. And obviously, being able to reborn a monster from your banished pile or your graveyard is always a plus because it is like a free extender, so you get your value back. And then from there forward, it's basically a free continuous spell card that just chills on your field because you're able to normal summon without attributing, and you're able to have this banish effect. So yeah, it's kind of nice actually, now that I think about it. I'm surprised the opponent just left the Grapha there. That's a little strange, but okay, we're going to see a Kashtira Shangri-La trigger activation. Which is each time a card your opponent controls is banished face down, except during the damage step, you can choose one of their unused main monster or spell trap zones that cannot be used while this monster faces up on the field. So we're just going to do the zone that Muckracker pointed to, so we can't see any link monsters just come down beneath it. Bear in mind that Muckracker cannot be linked during the turn it's summoned, so it's one of those link monsters that has that link clause to prevent it from being too broken. Konami learned from Haka Fibrax being too broken. They're like, all right, these link monsters cannot be linked on the turn that they're summoned. We're trying to make it a little more balanced here. Okay, so moving on, I think we are just able to make our plays unimpeded now because there's literally nothing on the board that can do anything in terms of disruption. We saw the Fenrir get popped by the Grapha. We're basically like, we're free to do our plays now. We just add a Grapha off the effect. We're just gonna use the effective Dark World of Session. We added the Grapha, of course, off the snow. That was still resolving on the chain. Dark World of Session is going to pitch the Rainbow as well as the copy of Grapha we added to summon the Big Daddy Grapha Fusion, who has 3,500 attack. Bear in mind that there's an old 300 attack boost on these older field spells like Ace of the Dark Worlds randomly, but it does come up. 300 could be the difference between winning and losing a game, so you do have to remember that. Going to use the effect of Rainbow to add a copy of Silva, Dark World of Session to discard the Silva to add it back to the hand. Silva's going to trigger, special summon itself as a level 5 extender. We're going to bounce Silva for the effect of Rainbow. Rainbow's going to bounce for Grapha. And you see when this deck can really play, it's pretty disgusting because there's a lot of card advantage amassed, obviously, from discarding the Grapha and the Rainbow and then just coming back immediately to your hand. It's like always a +2 for free. We're going to activate the effect of Muckracker by discarding a card. Discarding the Silva to summon back the Catalyzer, which is also a fiend. Special summon back the Silva because, as you know it's not once per turn, and we're just going to do the same loop again. Summon back Grapha here, and you can tell that this game is pretty over, even if we just go into battle phase. Well, Kashtira Shangri-La, bear in mind, don't forget, guys, that it does have the effect if this card on the field would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can detach material from it instead to protect itself. We're going to use the effect of Dark World Archives actually to give the attack boost. That's kind of neat here. Bear in mind, we are locked in the Fiends, so there's probably not a lot of extra deck options here to actually get rid of the monster, besides something like a Nightmare Unicorn, I would imagine. But it might just be better to go all in and start attacking, obviously, because we can't link, given that that material cannot be used. That Monster Zone cannot be used, rather, and Muckracker cannot be linked off. So yeah, that just makes no link plays. So this Dark World Archives is actually coming in clutch here. We're gaining 300 attack, and then we're gaining 800 off of the Rainbow that was discarded. And I literally just mentioned earlier in this duel when this started that the attack boost didn't really matter. But yeah, you never know. Like even 100 could be irrelevant. We're going to get over that 3k defense just by jamming all of our creatures in, getting rid of it the hard way. And I think this duel is just over, given that the opponent just has nothing left. So you can see the power of Dark Worlds really coming in clutch here. Shout out to Angry Arab for sending me that replay, because that was some cool little combos that I have not seen before. And obviously the Nightmares being Fiend is really clutch as well, because you can summon them after you're locked under Fiends with the effect of Muckracker from the Underworld. So yeah, that was really cool. I'm gonna see if we can do some more just looking at this deck, because it is really fun, interesting deck, and it's pretty relatively affordable because you do just need 3 structure decks plus a couple of extra cards like the extra deck options, maybe some copies of Nessie. But if you guys like this video, rate, comment, subscribe, and let me know your thoughts in the comments below about Dark World. What do you guys think about this deck? I will see you all in the next video. Bye bye.